All right, now it's time for In the Mix with Politics, brought to you by politics.topic.com. We're not on the right side, we're not on the left side, we're on your side. Your news and information for this week with your host, David Mark, Editor-in-Chief of Politics, and me, Will Roberts. I'm just a humorist tagging along to put my spin on things. By the way, our disclaimer. None of the humor necessarily reflects the views of my friends at politics.topic.com. All right, David, what's the scoop?
The big story this week, especially the last couple days of the week, has been the revelation that the National Security Agency has been taking phone records of Americans and processing them for various purposes. Some would call it spying. This is a big concern that a lot of civil libertarians have had for years. It's basically what the Bush administration was doing. He got a lot of gruff, a lot of heat over that from the left. Now they're turning on President Obama, and it's really striking to see the president coming in for criticism from his own party, his own coalition.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I have to tell you that it's the NSA, and I kind of renamed them. NSA stands for Nobody's Safe Anymore. Okay, so now let's look at the week in review on politics.topics.com. That's politix.topics.com. All right, so the first story is Eric Holder says he has no intention of stepping down. I think, well, maybe he should step down after he's kind of cleaned off what he's stepped in. What do you think?
Yeah, he has stepped in an awful lot. But Eric Holder, he is beleaguered. He's been so often criticized by Republicans in Congress, but he kind of has the leverage here. He can leave whenever he wants to, even though the Obama administration has sort of been leaking information about him, suggesting they might want him to step aside. There was a New York Times article in which there were anonymously quoted administration officials saying that Eric Holder should leave. It would be better in the administration's interest. But It's not like Obama's going to fire him, so he can wait it out, and he can kind of have the last laugh here against congressional Republicans.
Okay, next story. Obama and Chris Christie, share a bromance, and that's the complaint of a gentleman by the name of Louis, I can't say it, Gerard, and he is, well, to me, I always want to say something. This confirms to me that the reason why the Republicans and Democrats can't reach a thing on the immigration reform, because for some time they were doing bipartisan work there. I think it's because maybe the Republicans are scared of the word "bi" in there. What's your take?
Yeah, I hadn't quite thought of it that way, but this is Louis Gohmert, a Republican congressman from Texas, among the most conservative and outspoken House members. He has warned against such issues as Sharia law in the U.S. and quote-unquote anchor babies, illegal immigrants coming to the U.S. specifically to have babies and they could become terrorists. Basically, he's bounced off a lot of conspiracy theories, and he's not really a highly respected member of Congress and the general public, but here he is criticizing New Jersey Governor Chris Christie's political relationship with President Obama, particularly the bipartisan work together after Hurricane Sandy right before the elections last year. So clearly it's making a lot of Republicans upset.
Okay, the next story. Jon Stewart, of course, of The Daily Show, finds out that China won the Iraq war and gets all the oil. All I want to say is that if you want to divert attention away from China, just buy unleaded. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good strategy, but this does get to a larger point about the Iraq war 10 years ago now, and what the U.S. got out of it, besides a lot of death and destruction and stirring up Iran on its eastern border. There's not even some tangible financial benefit. Oil revenues now are not really going to the U.S. They're going to places like China, which is very, very much not a U.S. ally, even though the leaders have been meeting of late.
All right, next story. House votes to limit ammunition stockpile by Homeland Security Department. I just want to say one thing. I think they've already taken care of this in this administration. It's called a drone strike. What do you think?
Could be. You may not see it coming, but this is one of those issues, and I think it's a solution in search of a problem. This was a vote that's part of the annual spending bill. You appropriations bill for the Department of Homeland Security. This was an amendment offered by a Republican congressman from North Carolina, which basically would prohibit the Department of Homeland Security from stockpiling more than a couple of years' ammunition. And there's kind of a conspiracy theory undercurrent to this, that the DHS is going to turn its guns against American citizens or something of that nature. It's also in contrast to a lot of ammunition and gun shops which are having trouble stockpiling ammunition. So the thinking is the government is taking it instead. This still has a long way to go before becoming law, but it kind of shows you where a lot of Republicans are at this point in terms of gun rights issues.
All right, David Mark, Editor-in-Chief of Politics. That's politix.topix.com. And I'm Will Roberts. We'll see you next week.
All the way from the West Coast, it's humorist Will Roberts and his weekly telegram. The highlights and lowlights of all that's happening in and around the world. All right, Will, what's the scoop?
All right, Will Roberts' weekly telegram, willsays.com, WILLSAYS, or Twitter, Will Roberts USA. That's right, just go there. Send me a tweet. Send me a message, scribble on something. Just make sure I can see it because I want to know what you think. Because I've said this before, I'll say it again. My show is Talk With You Radio, not Talk At You. That's why you might notice in the hour that I do my show, I have like 6 segments on. And if you're in the second hour, another 2 or 3 that I bring experts on. Because I'm not the expert. I'm just I tout myself as being the common man or human, to be politically correct. And be able to kind of say, wait a second, we don't get that, and explain it to us, because politics is too difficult. So this week on the Will Roberts Weekly Telegram, I will let you know that I'm on a subject that right now, even as I said it, I'm having a visceral effect. Check that up online on Google, visceral. And that basically means that it's making me really kind of tingle. This may be the closest I get to rant. That's a 4-letter word, because I don't like to do that. And it's about unions. And listen, let me tell you, I spent the last 27 years, or actually 24 or so years, as a Screen Actors Guild member. And now since Screen Actors Guild and AFTRA, the American Federation of TV and Film, something like that, have joined together, I'm now part of those 2 unions. And I have to tell you something. I am upset. And the reason why I'm upset is because I'm seeing that corporate America, if you are an actor or a performer, if you're not, you can go online and see all these calls for these, movies and films and commercials and blah, 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 blah. And they say this, hey, Walmart or Coca-Cola or Pepsi or whatever. It may not be those people. So if I said that to your name and you only do union work, then please forgive me. But corporate America is putting these calls out there with these casting directors saying, we will give you a meal and a copy. Just come out and spend 12 to 14 hours with us and be in this because we're that cool and you should be in there with us. Well, guess what? Unfortunately, that means that the performers don't really make much money. Now, I understand this if you're a beginning performer, that you want to get your reel up, which basically means your resume. I get it. But the problem is that when I started this back in the 80s, we started seeing a little of this. But now we see this, an abundance of this, and what I call this basically scapegoating or going around the bush or going around the back end to be able to get people to perform and do their jobs, to be able to do them for free because you don't want to pay for people to be union. On the line, I have someone that is out of California. Her name is Connie, and it's Leva. I believe that's right. Is that right, Connie?
That is correct, Will.
Good. I want to make sure I say it right. And Connie currently serves as the president of the California Labor Federation. She's the president of the UFCW Local 1428 in Claremont, California. And there's a whole plethora of things she's done. But mainly, she's on the program today to talk about union matters, why union, maybe why not non-union. And we're going to go into that. Welcome to the show, Connie.
Well, thank you very much much for having me. It's my pleasure, and there's nothing I like more than talking about unions and the benefit of unions. As you just said, corporations are trying to make folks feel that unions are not beneficial to working people. Well, unions are only non-beneficial to one group of people, and that are corporate owners.
Right.
Unions benefit every worker. I've been a proud union member since my senior year in high school. At UFCW, we represent a variety of workers, primarily grocery stores and drugstores. And when you talk about non-union actors and actresses, we have a similar situation going on in the grocery and the drug industry. And people who are unrepresented and don't have a union, by and large, make about 30% less. They either don't have medical benefits, or the medical benefits that are offered to them are very, very expensive, and they have little or no pension. With a union, you also have rights on the job, protections on the job, and most union workers are a better class of worker. They are better trained, and they're more productive.
Well, it's an incentive. It's an incentive.
It's an incentive. That's exactly right. And all we say to corporations, Will, is take care of the people that are making you the money. If your folks don't show up day in and day out and do their job, you don't make any money.
Right.
So take care of those folks. Nobody's looking to get rich in a union job,
Right.
but they would like to have a house and a stable income and be able to let their kids play softball, t-ball, whatever, have the money to do those things, and have affordable health care and a pension.
Well, if the phrase "corporations are people too," which was mentioned in our last election cycle, then the bottom line is that really look after the people, because unfortunately the corporate, and again, folks, I'm not really trying to trash non-union in the sense that I want you to say that if you're not union that you're a bad person. But what I'm saying, and I think Connie is saying as well, is that if you want something in life, a certain quality of life, you have to ask for the best. And that's what corporate America is doing too. They're saying, well, we want the best and the highest profit in our return. Now, I understand that. But what I'm seeing as a political and social humorist all the time, which makes me not laugh, more cry than laugh, is the fact that, yeah, okay, we get that there's a big rage that they want these jobs to be here they want jobs for Americans, right? Well, but then they gather those jobs and they throw them overseas. And the fact is that we get it. You pay 2 cents a person and you're going to have to worry about their health care. That's like being a non-union worker. As a union actor, you're basically being covered in a lot of areas that you couldn't possibly be covered. Legally, if there's some sort of problem with your contracts and so on, you're covered. Medically, you're covered. If you go over, you're covered. If you're being mistreated, you're covered. If you're not, Hail Mary, you're on your own. Isn't that right?
Absolutely right. And that's, from the George Bush era, it was, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, you're on your own, and just make it happen. And I would totally agree with you. We like all workers, union or non-union, we are just hoping that all workers have an opportunity. All workers do have an opportunity to join a union.
Right.
Recent studies have shown that 70% of non-union workers would actually join a union freely if they were not intimidated by management.
Right.
Why doesn't management or corporations want to be union? Because then there's a standard that they have to live up to.
Right.
They have to treat their people with dignity. They have to treat them with respect, which seems commonplace. It seems kind of just the right thing to do. That's how I want to be treated, so why wouldn't I treat my employees that way? But we've seen corporations over the years become more and more exploitive, and we're hearkening back to the early 1900s when workers were exploited in the workplace. Instead of moving forward, we're actually in a race to the bottom, and corporations like Walmart are helping us get there.
Yeah, and the thing is that it's really kind of sad when you think about it, because you're asking just in my field, you're asking a performer to come out to spend a good portion of their day out at a set and get paid virtually nothing or nothing, sometimes $50, maybe nothing. And the bottom line is that at the end of the day, do those big people, like I saw a call in Las Vegas that said, a really, really big company, said, come on out and party with us, we'll give you a drink and you'll get a copy. Well, let me ask you a question. First of all, when was the last time you could pay your mortgage by giving your landlord a drink? Maybe have a drink with them, but that's still at the end of the day, they need to pay their bills. So how is it that if they're making money off of their product because they're going to do this big media blitz on their new product, that we shouldn't make any money?
Right, and I think that what's happened is society has turned the model upside down. Rather than companies and corporations looking to take care of the folks that work for them and making sure that they can pay their rent. Like I said, nobody's looking to get rich in these industries, but they would like to be able to pay their mortgage, pay their rent, go to the grocery store and buy food. But society has become very driven by greed, and it's all about money, it's all about the profit, and we've forgotten about the worker. And George Bush, again, I mentioned him before, but he helped us become a society in where all we're worried about is profits.
Right.
And when you put profits over people, no matter what industry you're a part of, you're not going to be as successful as you could be if you worry about your people and you worry about their families.
Right. Well, a lot of people know in my on my listenership over our stations and around the world, they know that I have a really big problem with the fact that I've traveled all around the United States and abroad quite a lot, and I go into these downtowns that now are ghost towns. And they're ghost towns because mom and pop is no longer, really mom and pop of the house. The downtowns are basically what the corporate America has done is they've put the shiny objects on the outside on the highways and the Starbucks. And we're all conditioned now. We get 25 burgers for 99 cents and we get our Starbucks and we're off to work to try to do the best we can so they, at the end of the day, can make their money. And at the end of the day, we make no money and we have to eat the 25 burgers because we can't afford anything. When we come back from our break, because we'll be leaving in just a second here, we are with Connie Leva, and she is basically president of California Labor Federation and president of the UFCW, Local 1428 in Claremont, California. We're going to be talking to her a little bit more about stuff, but I want to ask you one of the biggest problems that some of my right-wingers that I love, because I'm a gun handler, gun spinner, and what I do, they're going to want to talk about the fact that they think there's a lot of money, secret money that go into unions. We'll be right back on the Will Roberts Weekly Telegram. We'll be right back in just a moment. Hey folks, here's some great old public service announcements. I'm going to sprinkle them throughout the show. Enjoy.
Ladies, there's still a shortage of fats to make soap, so save and sell every pound of used kitchen fats. And remember, you get more money for used fat today, so keep saving it and keep selling it. Waste fat makes soap, so don't waste fat. Fill a tin and turn it in.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I call a spade and stop being an entertainer? When this war came, our soldiers left their homes to defend yours. You stayed comfortably in your own home during the war with a roof over your head. They lived in foxholes, if they lived. Now, these veterans can't find homes to live in. Remember, if it weren't for them leaving their homes to protect yours, you might not have yours right now. So give them a break, will you? Good night.
Next time you check the 7-day weather forecast, remember, it takes 30 days for a new flood insurance policy to take effect. So no matter how many sunny days appear to be on the horizon, there's no time to waste. Fact is, rainstorms can cause flood damage hundreds of miles from the coast. To find out how to protect your home against flooding, call 1-800-427-2297 or visit floodsmart.gov today. Brought to you by the National Flood Insurance Program.
Okay, astronaut, you're up. You'll be meeting with Wish Kid Brandon.
Roger, Brandon.
His wish is to see a space shuttle launch.
All systems are go. We are clear for liftoff.
This year, more than 27,000 children will be diagnosed with a life-threatening medical condition.
And, Cowboy?
Yes, ma'am.
You'll be meeting with Shayla at a dude ranch in San Antonio.
Let's saddle up.
Some will miss school. Some will miss time with their family and friends.
Princess, are you here?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for rescuing me from that evil witch.
Juliana wishes for a princess-themed room makeover.
That sounds magical.
But with your help, the Make-A-Wish Foundation can lift their spirits and give them a special kind of hope.
Pirate!
Yar!
You're up for Isaac's wish.
Aye, aye, Captain.
The wishes of thousands of children are waiting to come true.
You can help make my wish happen. Visit wish.org today.
You may be hearing about people having trouble making mortgage payments and risking losing their homes. Many of them just aren't aware of the options that can prevent foreclosure. There are many options available to homeowners, such as repayment and forbearance plans, loan modifications, and even refinancing. Where does someone go for help? They should talk directly with their lender or a qualified HUD-approved counseling agency. Both can provide helpful information without charging a fee. According to PMI Mortgage Insurance Company, it's not a good idea to pay for services that you can get for free from a lender or a qualified nonprofit counseling agency. To learn more, visit homesafepmi.com or call HUD at 1-800-569-4287 for a counseling agency near you. That's 1-800-569-4287. This message is brought to you by PMI, supporting sustainable home ownership that strengthens communities.
I'm in the car next to you on the highway. I sit in front of you on the bus. I'm one out of every 6 Americans struggling with hunger. This isn't an uncontrollable epidemic. There's enough food in this country to feed every hungry person. Please visit feedingamerica.org today and find your local food bank. Every dollar you donate helps provide 7 meals for those around you who are quietly struggling with hunger. Together we are Feeding America, brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
All right, Will Roberts, we're back on the show, willsays.com, and, of course, Will Roberts USA on Twitter. Listen, we're talking about unions, and we're talking about, are they good, are they bad, what's going on with them, and we're talking to Connie Leva, who is president of California Labor Federation and president of UFCW Local 1428. Man, that's kind of hard to say all at once. But in any case, you know what? Yeah, but thank you. But listen, the bottom line in my life, in my world is, and I challenge anybody that has opposing thoughts, I'd love to have a conversation with you. The bottom line is that union really helps you secure that you know that you're going to have you're going to be basically 360. You are covered, and the problem now with non-union stuff is we're sitting here as union members in a catch-22. Actually, it's worse than it's almost like a fish barb, and we can't get it out of our mouths because we have to go this way in order to get a job. And nowadays, even if we get a job, are we getting money for it? Anyway, so Connie, the question I want to ask you, put to you, we got about 3 minutes to answer this, is political money being put into the unions. What's the story?
So political money, unions are always accused of being big labor when it comes to politics. The money that we spend in politics comes directly from our members. They sign off, we call it ABC, Active Ballot Club. They sign off and they willingly give us whatever it is they want to give. Most of our members give $1 a week to go to politics. And like we tell them, your $1 a week, when we put it together with all the dollars of all the members in our local, we can be as effective and as powerful as corporations who put in millions of dollars. We don't have millions of dollars to put into politics. However, when our members come together, because that's what unions are about, everyone coming together, working together for a common cause, then we put our dollars together and we can pass good legislation for workers. We can elect worker-friendly folks who want to see people make a livable wage, have affordable health care, and retire with dignity and respect in the form of a good pension. However, that's how we get our money. It's really not, there's no secret to it. Members sign up, and if they don't want to sign up, they don't sign up. It's just that easy.
Is it a super PAC?
We are not a super PAC. We have an ordinary PAC here at Local 1428.
A six-pack. A six-pack.
A six-pack. There you go. I like that. We don't have enough money to have a super PAC. But the thing also about unions, that we are very effective with our money. We don't just write a check. We'll write a small check, but then we get out there and we do the work that nobody wants to do. We walk, we knock on doors, we phone bank, we talk to folks. That's how you win elections. That's how you move legislation. Just writing a check and throwing money at issues, it has some effect, but that's not how you win. If you want to win, you got to get your people out there and they got to do the job. And that's where unions, that's where we have our power, strength in numbers.
Yeah. I want to ask you if there's any thoughts and, quick little Reader's Digest about what we can do to try to strengthen a union, but we don't have time. But I will say that you can go to UFCW1428.org. That's UFCW1428.org. And Connie's on there, I'm sure, in some way, shape, or form. Ask her questions, because really the reason why people are upset by things in life is because they fear And fear is not basically it's not knowing what you should know, and that's knowledge. Okay, Connie, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. Again, UFCW, which sounds like a wrestling thing. I know it's not. UFCW1428.org. Thanks for coming on the show, Connie. We'll talk to you soon.
Will, thanks for having me.
All right. And now the part of the show where you get enlightened, informed, and, of course, educated in regards to the bills on the Hill in Washington, D.C. All those really funny little things that they title in funny little ways to get all of their own people on the Hill to be able to vote for them are the things that we kind of sometimes go, what's that mean? And here with us, we have Rachna Chowdhury from PopVox. That's POPVOX.com. That's POPVOX.com. And the Bills on the Hill, the weekly roundup. Rachna, what's on tap for this week?
Well, everyone is talking about immigration reform, and that seems to be the big issue among PopVox users, but also on the Hill. Senator Harry Reid, who's the leader of the Senate, announced that he's going to start pushing the comprehensive immigration reform bill. This is that bipartisan bill we've been talking about for several weeks now.
Yeah.
And it's going to start being considered by the full Senate next week.
Yeah, but I'm hearing that I'm so confused because, and I'm sure my listeners are too, but we're hearing that, well, it's not really bipartisan. It never was in regards to it going to the Senate. I mean, there are some people. Basically, I'm hearing and reading what I think I read, I was sent to me, saying that, well, they're really kind of holding it, the Republicans or the people against it, are holding it over the Democrats' head because they want that whole other issue about when to vote. I can't remember what it was, but there's some other unrelated issue that really is one of those things they're holding over their head saying, do this and we'll do that. So is it really, or are we in another head fake mode?
Well, I think the issue that you're talking about is President Obama's judicial nominee.
Yes.
But, everything in D.C. is a give and take. So the Republicans can hold that and say, hey, we're not going to move your judicial nominees, which have to be approved by the Senate. But that's, politics as usual in Washington. I think the key thing here is that the Gang of Eight, the ones that have been pushing this reform, those are the 8 bipartisan senators, are going to have to be, on TV, talking to people, seeing what kind of votes they can pull together in order to move this. But even if they get first the vote to end debate, this is the Senate, so first you need 60 votes to end debate on a bill before the bill can be voted on.
Right.
So even if they get that, and even if the Senate votes on the bill and say they pass the bill, all eyes are looking at the House, and the House doesn't even have a bill yet. So there's a long way to go.
There's too many people in this bed. I'm telling you, hey, Washington, D.C., this is a note for all you senators and you congressmen or congresspeople, senator people. I just want to let you know that if you tried to pull this on your wife or your husband and say, look, I'm telling you that I will give you this, I'll clean and do the lawn if you maybe cuddle with me a little bit more tomorrow night, you know what, you'd get probably slapped, and they'd say, you know what, that's not the way you run a marriage. And I'm not really sure that's the way we should run politics, because there's entirely too many people in my bed or our country's bed. So anyway, there it is. What else is happening on the Hill?
In your personal life, I don't think you have such a thing as a filibuster. Or maybe you do.
Hey, you've been looking. I do have a filibuster. It's where I keep, because I'm a radio host, I always keep talking. My wife goes, I'm not listening. It's a little bit different, but I agree with you, politics as usual. Anything else happening on the Hill?
Well, there's been a lot of discussion around sexual assault in the military. There were some hearings about those bills. We're highlighting that on popbox.com. So it's a really important time to share your story and to weigh in with your members of Congress, because it's an issue that people want
Absolutely.
our elected leaders to address.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, they need a gang of 8 women to just beat the living daylights out of some of these military guys, because there's way too many guys on these panels and no women, and they're getting away with whatever. All right, PopVox, POPVOX.com, Will Roberts Weekly Telegram, here with Rachna Chowdhury. She is one of the founders of PopVox. It's a great place there. Go get involved, feel it out, have a good time, and get your vote counted by making a difference. Talk to you soon. See you next week, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Before taking our usual trip to the green room, let's discuss 3 ways we can all help lengthen the war. Here they are. First, throw away all your extra equipment. Second, don't take care of the equipment and ordnance you have left. Third, waste your field rations. Only eat the parts you like. Well, that's only 3 ways. But if each and every man and woman in the service indulged in just those 3 consistently, V-Day would be a far cry indeed. Of course, no one would act like that on purpose, but unfortunately, we all tend to treat GI materiel a little bit like a stepsister. And when you multiply your carelessness and wastage 1 million or more times, it's no longer funny. So let's not help lengthen the war. Let's shorten it by conserving everything we have.
Ah, the great outdoors. With sunny weather, blooming flowers, and fresh air, many prefer to spend their time outside. If you have Social Security business to tend to, that's no reason to ditch the outdoors. You don't have to wait in an office. You can handle much of your Social Security business from your laptop, wherever you want to be. You can do research, use My Social Security, even apply for benefits online as you sit on the beach. As long as you have an internet connection, you can do business with Social Security. So enjoy the great outdoors. We'll bring the office to you, wherever you want to be. Learn more and do more at www.socialsecurity.gov. That web address again is www.socialsecurity.gov.
Okay, astronaut, you're up. You'll be meeting with Wish Kid Brandon.
Roger, Brandon.
His wish is to see a space shuttle launch.
All systems are go. We are clear for liftoff.
This year, more than 27,000 children will be diagnosed with a life-threatening medical condition.
And, Cowboy?
Yes, ma'am.
You'll be meeting with Shayla at a dude ranch in San Antonio.
Let's saddle up.
Some will miss school. Some will miss time with their family and friends.
Princess, are you here?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for rescuing me from that evil witch.
Juliana wishes for a princess-themed room makeover.
That sounds magical.
But with your help, the Make-A-Wish Foundation can lift their spirits and give them a special kind of hope.
Pirate.
Yar.
You're up for Isaac's wish.
Aye, aye, Captain.
The wishes of thousands of children are waiting to come true.
You can help make my wish happen. Visit wish.org today.
You may be hearing about people having trouble making mortgage payments and risking losing their homes. Many of them just aren't aware of the options that can prevent foreclosure. There are many options available to homeowners, such as repayment and forbearance plans, loan modifications, and even refinancing. Where does someone go for help? They should talk directly with their lender or a qualified HUD-approved counseling agency. Both can provide helpful information without charging a fee. According to PMI Mortgage Insurance Company, it's not a good idea to pay for services that you can get for free from a lender or a qualified nonprofit counseling agency. To learn more, visit homesafepmi.com or call HUD at 1-800-569-4287 for a counseling agency near you. That's 1-800-569-4287. This message is brought to you by PMI, supporting sustainable home ownership that strengthens communities.
All right, Will Roberts Weekly Telegram, willsays.com, or Twitter, that is willrobertsusa.com. Wait, no, anyway, you know how Twitter works. I don't have to explain it to you. Waste my time. Time is precious. Money is time. Now I'm bringing on the show to spend a little bit of time with us a good friend and a person I love bringing on the show because he's, hold on to your seats, folks, he's radical. He's Johnny. It's foreign to me. Johnny in Arizona, what's up, brother? What's happening? You know, this week we're talking about unions. What do you want to say? You going to bust them? You're going to bust them or support them?
It's all good, and I think the scandal here is no jobs bill. Since we're talking about unions and work and stuff, I think it fits right in. You know, it's foreign to me what's happened to the jobs chant that the Republicans were so fired up about a month ago. We haven't seen, any kind of jobs bill from them, and now that the economy is on the rebound and the deficit has come down by hundreds of billions of dollars under President Kool, we've heard nothing from the grand old white guys but scandal, scandal, scandal.
Yeah.
And that's scandalous, you know?
Well, the thing is that they say the jobs. Hold on a second. Hold on.
Scandals are less and less scandalous every day. What's your take?
Well, here's the thing. The thing is that the Republicans, and I'm not pointing the finger at them, but again, I am. It's my right finger, though. They're saying that they want to save the jobs. Corporate America says, I want to save the jobs. What? So they can collect them all and throw them overseas? That's what they're doing.
Right. And we're talking about this, but we've heard nothing about it in the last couple of weeks. All we're hearing is these scandals.
Right.
And, I just don't think these scandals are scandals when it comes down to it.
I agree.
Right? I mean, the IRS scandal is really about Karl Rove getting a tax break for his political overlord shit under the guise of community betterment. That's just crazy.
You said ship, right? Ship? Over?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Ship. Like lordship.
Okay.
If you read that law, right, none of these political organizations, left or wrong, should have been given a 501c4 status. And all these people coming out now with these incredible stories about how the IRS is bullying me, and they're getting a free gripe because the IRS is precluded by law to rebut these accusations.
Right.
Because each of these individual people would have to give the IRS the okay to talk about their individual tax situations to rebut these accusations. And who would do that?
Yeah. I agree with you. Hey, I want to say something.
These teabaggers who are whining and crying about having to wait and be singled out for their views need an enema. They don't want to pay taxes. Then, when you don't have enough federal employees to process their requests quick enough, they cry.
Right.
And when you scrutinize who's getting supplemented by the taxpayers, so we don't have to pay more taxes to fund them, they cry.
No.
Pamby, whiners, want to be coddled and don't want to pay for the nanny.
Can I say something?
It's sick.
I want to say something. You know what? You brought up a really good point about the fact that a lot of people on the right side think that or the Tea Party, think that they're being singled out. But you know what? I was telling you about this whole Kickstart thing, and you told me you're going to start one, which is this thing where you can try to raise money for your cause, whatever it may be. It may be a film. It may be whatever. And I went on there and tried to do it, man, and I have an LLC with my company, and it has taken me 2.5 weeks to try to get to prove that I am an LLC. I'm not a Tea Party. I am not trying to, I'm not trying to skirt the government taxes in any particular way, but it has been so difficult that I decided to dump the project because it was so difficult. So I think that people are scrutinizing on everything and everybody. And I want to say one more point off this subject. You said something earlier, and I think I'm going to rephrase, and on this show from now on, we're never going to call them political organizations. We're now going to start calling them political, I can't even say it. Organisms. Political organisms from now on.
Well, okay, but that's not what Kickstarter is for, for companies coming in. It's for the little guy. It's for the actual individuals. And so that's why Kickstarter probably has a problem with you.
But but that's not fair. I'm a regular guy.
Look, I know that you're an artist out there doing your thing, okay? But Kickstarter doesn't. You got to give them that. I mean, they're there protecting the little guy and his project. They're not there to help an LLC get his, whatever.
Damn you!
But I understand where you're coming from.
Damn you! Damn you! No, I guess I agree with you, but
it's like these 501c4s and C3s that these political organizations are trying to get. Okay, they're not. They can't get them.
Okay, you're right.
But that's not what that status is for. And of course
be scrutinized.
Okay, you're right. You know what? I agree. I'm changing my 501c from Americans whatever to Americans want a better and cheaper and healthier Happy Meal. I'm doing it.
There you go. Okay, but back to what I was saying, okay? Because I'm sick of all these scandals. The Benghazi stuff is stupid. All this stuff is stupid. And who the frack cares? I mean, yes, of course we don't want an administration drunk on power and performing actions with no oversight, like invading other countries under false pretenses or spying on us without warrants or trading weapons for drugs. But just a month or two ago, all we were hearing from the party of big money was, it's the economy he's ruining, and jobs, jobs, jobs. What? Without a single bill ever being put forward by them to create these jobs.
Yeah.
And now they seem to have thrown that aside while they grasp at political straws trying to get something bad to stick to the POTUS or our next major step forward as a nation, Hillary.
Yeah.
Stop talking about the economy. Why? Because Wall Street and the unemployment index and the housing market indicators and all are all moving in the right direction, albeit slowly and hard for us to feel yet, but moving. And while this myopic witch hunting is going on, we have real problems that the public sees not getting done, like keeping the jobs coming, you idiots.
All right, hotshot, we got you. Stopping you.
Pope Francis has decreed that anyone who does good deeds can get into heaven, even atheists.
Wow.
So now, in addition to gays and abortion and women's rights, all the dang Christians are even more pissed off about wasting all those Sundays.
Wow.
It's a hell of a time to be an American, isn't it?
HotshotPerformer.com. You are definitely out on a rage. And listen, it's okay. I'm going to let you do what you do because we want you to be able to have your freedom of speech, even if it is just on my show. And if you step outside of my show, they'll probably arrest you on the streets. It's okay. But you know what? I'm okay with all that stuff about them finding out about our phone calls and NSAs and everything. Just do me a favor. Make sure that we know that they're going to piddle on us. All right. Will Roberts Weekly Telegram. We'll be back in just a moment. That was our It's Foreign to Me, which is not foreign. It's right here. It's America. Hotshot Johnny. We'll see you soon. We'll be right back on the Will Roberts Weekly Telegram. Please go to willsays.com and see our new cool site. And, of course, international.to provides us with all of our news and information, along with politics.topic.com. We'll be right back in just a moment.
It's time for your Fowler Nation newscast. I'm Richard Fowler. Today I want to talk to you about this whole ideal of the culture of scandal being perpetuated by the Republican Party. For the past couple months, we've seen the Republican Party try to nail this president down and make him and scandalize him. If it's not Benghazi, which is a scandal about a page of talking points, not about the death of 4 individuals, but about who wrote the talking points and how the talking points got out to the news media. I've never heard of a scandal based off of some talking points. And yet, better yet, I digress. The new scandal now seems to be this IRS this electioneering thing, which I've said before and I will say again, is based on this whole ideal that the IRS pulled out groups they thought were engaging in were primarily engaging in politics. 51% of their actions were based in politics. And when your organization has the name Tea Party in it, I would assume that 51% of your actions are engaged in political activity. Now, even though the IRS asked these individuals more questions, they did not do what the IRS did in 2004. In 2004, under the George Bush IRS, they audited the NAACP for political action. And the NAACP won the case regardless. I say all these things to say is the Republican Party will do whatever they can to destroy this president at all costs. Recently, they've even made this whole rumor that the head of the IRS visited the White House 157 times. When you look at the facts, he was invited 157 times. He only attended the White House about 11 times in the past 6 years. Either way, this scandal of corruption, this whole narrative of corruption is just that. A fictional narrative, America. To find out more about The Fowler Show, check out our YouTube page, www.youtube.com/Fowler Show.
Have you ever asked a naturalized American how he or she feels about the business of voting? If you have, it's probably given you a whole new slant on the matter. To those men and women who were born in other countries, the right to vote is a precious privilege, and they line up before the voting booth on Election Day with the same high sense of pride and responsibility that one might feel upon being awarded some rare degree. Actually, the right to vote should give us all the same heady thrill. It is we, you and I, who determine the course of our country and the conditions of our own lives with those votes we cast on Election Day. Make sure your opinions will be counted. Make sure you cast your vote by being very sure to register. Then take advantage of all of America's media of communication for informing yourself on the issues involved. Go to the polls with pride and responsibility and vote.
At this time of the year, we spend a lot of time out of doors, hiking and camping and on picnic trips in the woods and the mountains. That means more danger of forest fires. This summer, thousands of acres of valuable timberland will be destroyed because of carelessness. And in these days of defense emergency, our natural resources are more vital than ever. It's up to you to be sure that you do not cause the tragedy, the shameful waste brought about by a forest fire. Just follow a few simple rules. Crush out cigarettes, cigar, and pipe ashes. Break matches in two after using them. Drown all campfires, then stir and drown them again. Find out the law before using any kind of fire. Forest fires destroy timber, wildlife, and the water supply. They destroy the natural resources on which our nation depends. So don't be careless for a moment when you're in the mountains or woodlands. Forest fires are our most shameful waste. So remember, only you can prevent forest fires. Now, Act 2 of Tales of the Texas Rangers.
Ah, the great outdoors. With sunny weather, blooming flowers, and fresh air, many prefer to spend their time outside. If you have Social Security business to tend to, that's no reason to ditch the outdoors. You don't have to wait in an office. You can handle much of your Social Security business from your laptop, wherever you want to be. You can do research, use My Social Security, even apply for benefits online as you sit on the beach. As long as you have an internet connection, you can do business with Social Security. So enjoy the great outdoors. We'll bring the office to you, wherever you want to be. Learn more and do more at www.socialsecurity.gov. That web address again is www.socialsecurity.gov.
Okay, astronaut, you're up. You'll be meeting with Wish Kid Brandon.
Roger, Brandon.
His wish is to see a space shuttle launch.
All systems are go. We are clear for liftoff.
This year, more than 27,000 children will be diagnosed with a life-threatening medical condition.
And, Cowboy?
Yes, ma'am.
You'll be meeting with Shayla at a dude ranch in San Antonio.
Let's saddle up.
Some will miss school. Some will miss time with their family and friends.
Princess, are you here?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for rescuing me from that evil witch.
Juliana wishes for a princess-themed room makeover.
That sounds magical.
But with your help, the Make-A-Wish Foundation can lift their spirits and give them a special kind of hope.
Pirate.
Yar.
You're up for Isaac's wish.
Aye, aye, Captain.
The wishes of thousands of children are waiting to come true.
You can help make my wish happen. Visit wish.org today.
You may be hearing about people having trouble making mortgage payments and risking losing their homes. Many of them just aren't aware of the options that can prevent foreclosure. There are many options available to homeowners, such as repayment and forbearance plans, loan modifications, and even refinancing. Where does someone go for help? They should talk directly with their lender or a qualified HUD-approved counseling agency. Both can provide helpful information without charging a fee. According to PMI Mortgage Insurance Company, it's not a good idea to pay for services that you can get for free from a lender or a qualified nonprofit counseling agency. To learn more, visit homesafepmi.com or call HUD at 1-800-569-4287 for a counseling agency near you. That's 1-800-569-4287. This message is brought to you by PMI, supporting sustainable home ownership that strengthens communities.
All right, Will Roberts Weekly Telegram, willsays.com. Go to the site. It's been retooled. It's shinier, fun. Oh, it just has a lot of great stuff. But more importantly, there's a section in there, of course, where you can read all the stuff going on, and my segment hosts have elaborated. And my next host always elaborates because no matter what he does, he is different than others because he gives you a visual. Again, he's our visual radio. And that's Armand Thomas of Picture This. Armand Thomas of Picture This, and here's his music. Yeah.
Picture this. Chatting up corners of the world.
Picture this, Armand Thomas, ArmandThomas.com. Hey, Armand, what's happening in Las Vegas in your mind, and what are we talking about this week?
Well, I've been watching with great interest what's going on in Turkey, clear across the pond, that Turkey.
Yeah.
And there's been riots erupting throughout the country of Turkey, and I was wondering why, Will, because obviously there's many reasons that can trigger riots. And oddly enough, this one began innocuously. The youth of Istanbul, a progressive, forward-looking city of a lot of students, universities, and decided to do a sit-in to save a park in their downtown area, what is being touted as being the last green space in the city, in the downtown area.
Okay.
And suddenly they were met with extreme force, water cannons, pepper spray, a lot of violent reaction from the government forces, and that, can I say, pissed them off? Yeah, that really ticked them off.
Well, why not? Why not? Why did they do it? I mean, why not? I mean, if they're sitting there doing a peaceful sort of sit-in, what is the government that have us that tight of a hold on them that they want them not to be able to sit? What?
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't so much that they were being shooed out of the area, but it really infuriated them that such extreme heavy-handedness from the government was taken with such impunity. And the entire country rose to say, no, you are not going to treat us like this. Democracy is not just about going to the polls and electing somebody. It's also about freedom of expression and the right to mobilize and, to express yourself. And the fact that the government took such a heavy hand in neutralizing them really infuriated them and created this new movement where a lot of people might think it might be the new Turkish Spring, like happened in other nations, but not really, because Turkey is very different than a lot of the other Islamic countries in that neighborhood, in that the government is supposedly to be secular.
Right.
No government, no religion in the government. And for it to react like that made the people think, wait a minute, who are we? Are we going towards being part of the European Union,
Right.
or are we just into being the next, Saudi Arabia, Yemen? Of course, here they are sitting right in the middle of this neighborhood with the war in Syria right next door. Iraq, Iran, just a hop away.
Right.
It's been at a crossroads of civilization and political movements, religious movements, and they've held their own pretty good, but they have to be careful right now.
Well, let me say something here. Looking at these photos, which, by the way, you can see either on ArmandThomas.com, because he's nice enough to spotlight them, and also on WillSays.com coming up on the weekend. But I'm looking at these pictures, and I have to tell you, what a juxtaposition. Love that word. I use it all the time now, even if it doesn't work. But anyway, for instance, looking at it, looks like they're having a tug of war with themselves, because on the left, there's one picture with these ladies with the head gear. I don't know what to call it. And then you have these three ladies. By the way, I've noticed the theme, 3 ladies on one picture, 3 ladies on another, but they travel in threes. That's a good thing to know, guys. But here's the other thing is that you've got the women covering their face on one side and the other girls who are freely walking and going wherever they want in tank tops and so on. Wow, that's weird.
And there's the rub. So all this recent events in Turkey made me think of my visits there and the shot I took, and I couldn't help but remember everywhere I went seemed to be a contradiction. Everything that I saw seemed to, as you say, be a tug of war.
Mm-hmm.
Wedding dresses in the window, and men washing their faces in the fountains in front. The visitors in their shorts and their sandals, and the Muslim women covered up. Bras being sold in the marketplace, and scarves over the heads because of the show as part of the religion.
Sure.
The entire country is, I can almost say, schizophrenic. You know, you're not quite sure who you are. You know, Faye Dunaway in Chinatown. I'm your sister. I'm your daughter.
Well, they're smart enough to know that they have a tourism there, and they need to make money. So, you know, I guess I kind of get that. I really do like the picture as I've scanned through them. I think the one that I really am gathering my like for is the one with the clocks, just because I love those clocks, and they're really great. And it always reminds me I'm at the end of our segment here, so I have to kind of move it along. But I will say that you've enlightened us, certainly as you always do with Turkey, ArmandThomas.com, and of course WillSays.com. Armand has increased his sort of verbiage, his text on what he's writing, so I really appreciate that. You have about 10 seconds left if you want to say anything else before I leave you.
Hey, Turkey's still one of my ideal vacation, tourism, travel areas in the world. It just offers you everything, and you know, what's happening now over there is alarming, but it shouldn't distract us from the fact that it's a booming country on the cusp of being a global power if they manage themselves correctly.
Absolutely. All right, ArmandThomas.com and WillSays.com. Go see the pictures, experience them yourself, because a picture's worth 1,000 words. And that means that I don't have to write anything about it. It's just a picture, and you can put the words in yourself. Okay, well, that's the show this week. Go to Will Says, that's WILLSAY.com, and check out the weekly news. So this week we talked a little bit about a lot of things, immigration reform, and of course how odd it is that at one point they had bipartisan support between Republicans and Democrats, and now they seem to be running different directions from each other. Sort of what we call another political head fake. But then again, I think this all has to do with the word bipartisan. I think the Republicans think the word bi means that they like the same sex. But anyway. And then, of course, we talked about the IRS, which I've renamed I Really Like Spending Your Money, which is really kind of the same sort of story as the whole GSA back, a few years ago. When I lived in Vegas, they came there. The General Services Association, something like that. It's basically a government agency that really spends money, the procurement. And I wrote a whole article on that, so check that out. You can go to my site, and willsays.com, and check out the GSA article, which I renamed to Gladly Spend a Lot. And you'll be able to hear an awful lot of similarities to those two folks. And, of course, we talked about Chris Christie and his whole folly. I think that'll get more interesting as it goes along. I mean, as we get closer to election, not this one, 2016. And then, of course, we talked about in the actual, show today, we talked about unions. And I'm very, very adamant about the whole union story. I know Scott Walker and all those folks like to kind of bash that around and really get rid of the unions, because that certainly helps the corporate America folks make more money and pay the folks in America a lot less. But all I want to say is that as a union actor, it's allowed me to be able to feel safe. It's allowed me to be able to know things that I would have never known before, like legal matters, and have people who are experts at that being able to take care of those matters for me. And, of course, safety and not working too long. If we want those things, we can go to another country. All right, well, that's the show for this week. Go to willsays.com. And, of course, I want to thank our news people out there for helping us, international.to. They give us our news around the world. And, of course, politics.topics.com. All right, we'll see you next week. Be safe and be kind.
You're listening to WIAT Radio, WPWC 1480 AM. Now get out there and do something.
Hello, this is Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and I want to tell you about my new favorite discovery, Yosemite National Park. I recently went there with my husband and children, and we walked the trails to see the breathtaking waterfalls, admired the grand meadows, and giant sequoias. But the future of our national parks is uncertain. Many challenges face our parks today, from polluted air and water to development threats outside their borders and inadequate funding to protect our national heritage. That's why the National Parks Conservation Association recently completed a decade-long assessment of the challenges facing our national parks, along with proposed actions that will ensure our children and grandchildren will be able to enjoy the parks as we have. Our national parks have inspired Americans for nearly 100 years. As we approach the centennial of the National Park Service in 2016, please join us in helping to protect our national park legacy. Find out how at www.mpca.org.